Hello and welcome to Women of Influence podcast. Hi, I'm JaLynn with the J Group Real Estate Team.
The Great American Speak Off.
One of my favorites.
Hey everyone, and welcome again. It's JaLynn, your host here at the Women of Influence podcast, here with my special guest, Tracy Sickelbower. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So this conversation is going to hit really close to home for me. As you know, Tracy, my mother just passed away a little under 2 weeks ago, and you were instrumental in helping with the whole process of making sure she was comfortable and well cared for. And so I wanted to have you on to talk about your services in hospice in general, because I think there's such a huge misconception out there around hospice, you know. So let's just start there, Tracy. Like how did you get into hospice services, and tell the audience about some of the major misconceptions out there around hospice?
Yeah. So I'm a true believer in there are no coincidences. I believe things happen for a reason. So I was privileged enough when I first got my master's to work at a geri psych unit here in Tucson. It was at El Dorado Hospital, which doesn't exist anymore. But I got to learn from some of 2-3 of the top geri psych doctors in this town, and the executive director, who I hold the utmost respect and admiration for. I think if anyone could work under anyone, it would be her. She taught me so many things about dementia, and that's where I thought I was going to stay, because I fell in love with dementia. I fell in love with psych, and TMC, another major hospital, bought El Dorado, and they have their own Palo Verde psych unit. And so originally the geri psych, we were going to move over there, and we were going to have a separate psych for geriatric like we did at El Dorado, but it just didn't work out. And for quite some time, there was a liaison for hospice that would come and visit and, just talk about hospice, and was really honestly always trying to get me to go work for them. And I just said, I love my dementia patients. And so after a little while of trying at the new psych unit and realizing it wasn't where my heart was, she came back again and asked me one more time if I was interested in leaving. And I said, I'm going to miss my dementia patients. And she said, oh, no, we have tons of dementia patients in hospice. So that was 19 years ago. And I went and interviewed, and here I am. You're right, JaLynn. There are so many misconceptions about hospice, about advanced directives. I joke all the time and say the 2 reasons I usually get asked to not come back or fired is simply by talking about code status, asking about funeral arrangements. And as you know, they're not fun topics. We don't want to talk, especially about our loved ones, about their wishes. And we see our parents and our grandparents as these, superheroes that we wouldn't know if their arm was cut off. They still got up and got us ready and did all these things. So it's hard when people have to face that. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions about hospice is that it's a place, and it's not. Hospice, it's a philosophy. So we go wherever a person lives. And yes, I've had homeless for a lack of a better word. I was able to take care of someone in their car. We were able to take care of a couple people in hotels. So wherever they are able to reside, so that we can send them things, that's why they have to have an address. That's where we go. So it's not necessarily a place. There are inpatient facilities. Those are unfortunately not for placement or respite. They are for some symptom management. So that kind of confuses a lot of people. The other is that you come on, people hear, oh, did you hear Mrs. Smith went on hospice? They gave her morphine and she died 2 days later. That probably was all true, but a long time ago, doctors weren't as on board with hospice. And let's be honest, the medical philosophy and the hospice philosophy, they're both great, but the medical philosophy, they take that oath to do no harm. And, their whole job is to make people hopefully better or to get better, to feel better. And so when they can't, so people were getting and still are put on hospice when they're already ready to take their last breath almost anyway. So those misconceptions are huge. Another one is that you can't graduate. I graduate people off hospice.
That's
People
great.
wonder, well, how can you do that? Their illness doesn't go away. No, their terminal illness is still there, but because we are going to them, they don't have to go to a doctor or an emergency room or an urgent care. They can actually get a little better and start at like a new baseline. So then if that continues over these research periods, we graduate them off. Sometimes we don't see them. Like I just went and saw a patient before I came here who I had on maybe, I think a year and a half ago, we took him off and now he's ready to come back on. I've taken people off and on. I have one right now. This is their 4th admission. So it's not always the
Wow.
bad stigma that everyone kind of thinks it is.
Yeah, I got to tell you from my perspective, because my mother was in and out of the hospital for, a year essentially for whatever ailment at that time, and definitely a fall risk. And I finally got her situated into a care home.
Mhm.
And it was, for there, because she was tired of being in the hospital. She was tired of being hooked up to the IVs. And in my mind, it wasn't, I was not sending her to the care home to be like her last place that she was going to like live her life. And then I was introduced to hospice, to Bristol Hospice by Amy. And she called and she just kind of went over the services with me. And I remember thinking, and I'm like, wow, that's not what I thought hospice was. Like I had always thought, oh, it's a place that you go to. But she explained to me, no, it's just an extra layer of care. That the nurses will come in twice a week. They'll help your mom bathe, help her shower. They pay for the depends the diapers and whatnot that your mom needs, and all of these like extra services that are paid for and covered by insurance. And I was like, wow, I was blown away. I'm like, well, heck yeah, sign me up. My mom needs that extra layer of care. But I remember my mom getting so upset because, the word hospice would be flying around. She's like, I can't believe you sent me to a hospice place. You must think I'm ready to die. And I'm like, no, Mom, it's not like that. And I explain it to her. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to find out, the huge benefits of the hospice service. So like, thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, it's it was meant to be in the time that I think I was supposed to learn from those people about dementia, because dementia and hospice and advanced directives are still my passion and my love. And I don't think I would have known as much about dementia if I hadn't had that job first. Because I was fortunate enough to work with Dr. Goetta Chrysler and Christopher Wiegand and Terry Waldman, and they are forever, I hold them in the highest respect. I wouldn't be where I am today if they hadn't taught me all the things that I learned. And, unfortunately, most of us that go into hospice, we go into it um, out of our own life story. I didn't really know that it was going to be hospice I was going in. I have experienced both a very quick and surprising death. And I've experienced, of course, the hospice journey with a lot of my family members and close friends. So, and people will ask, well, what's better? They both suck. I mean, one, you get time to be with them, that, I mean, the sad thing is we all are born. We know that there's a couple things in life we're not going to get away with. One is taxes and the other is death. But there's such a stigma in this country. We're a lot more afraid of death than I think most of us need to be. A lot of that is spiritual. It's upbringing. It's a lot of things. A lot of the generation, your mom's generation. My grandfather's 96 and he lives with me, and I know his generation is very much the same. And I hear that a lot from families, especially. And I know that had to just pull at your heartstrings when your mom's like, "You're just putting me here to die and dropping me off." And a lot of times people will hear that. And it does break your heart to hear as a child, that you're just doing this. Before I ever went into the medical field, I was raised by my grandparents, and I told them, I will never put you anywhere over my dead body. I mean, I was, and then in doing this all of the years, and even before all this years, I had another conversation and I said, I know what I promised you. However, if it becomes a product of your safety or my safety, I'm not going to have a choice. But it still hurts. And I can say that, but I know my grandpa, if it comes a day that I'm going to need to place him, it's not going to be an easy task. It's not going to be an easy thing.
It's definitely really difficult and challenging as a child. And was the last one left standing, so to speak, to help care for my mother, because my brother had just passed away the year before. And having to make these tough decisions and always second guessing myself. I'm like, am I doing the right thing? Is she in the right place? Blah, blah, blah. And it was like such a breath of fresh air getting to meet you in person and seeing how, you dealt with my mother and her dementia and how you were talking to the other patients there. And it just gave me personally such peace of mind knowing that, I was doing the right thing. And like, even, that looking at how rapidly she declined there at the end, like I literally checked her into her care home on September 4th and she passed away on October 8th. And it was just like, wow, we're talking about a period of time in 5 weeks. And, I remember the last time I went in to see her and she didn't even recognize like who I was. And you were there during the interview that we had, and she thought it was year 1975. And I was just kind of like blown away, but just seeing how you dealt with her and talked to her and, because my natural inclination would be to like correct her, like, no, Mom, it's
redirect 2025, her to 2025.
Yes. So seeing how you, and it's a process of training that you have to go through, right, to learn how to speak with these dementia patients so you're not getting frustrated by them, like thinking they're crazy or whatever. But yeah, you just handled everything like a pro, and I just thought that was so refreshing.
Oh, well, thank you. And I do want to talk about, some of that, but you said the perfect word. You felt bad, like you were questioning, were you making all the right decisions? Decisions is that really the word I want to touch on, because a lot of times when families do sign their loved one onto hospice, they're signing on that dotted line. Then I come in and I talk about code status, making someone a DNR, a do not resuscitate, or I'm hoping we start using the term AND for allow natural death, because that's what a DNR is. But by signing on the DNR dotted line, it feels like, well, I'm making the decision that, oh, it's okay. We don't make any decisions. We think we do. And as women, we push it. When we don't feel well, we'll just push through the pain, push through the illness. We got to do what we got to do. And then our body says, remember me? I said no. So her body and a person's body is making all the decisions. By you signing a person onto hospice, by you putting a person in a great care home where they're cared for, by you signing on the dotted line for a do not resuscitate, you're not making any decisions or choices. Her body made all the decisions and all the choices. You just honored it by signing on the dotted line.
Exactly. And I remember, what you said about my mom's body making the decisions for her. Hold on, just somebody's ringing the doorbell. By the way, I am in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean in between Madeira and Tenerife right now. So I'm like amazed I have such a good internet connection. Somebody's ringing at the door. Anyway, I'm just going to ignore them.
Room service.
But, yeah, I remember my mom there. Fortunately, I got to go down and say goodbye to her the day before she passed away. And I just remember her breathing patterns and the way that she was just so out of it and non-responsive really kind of freaked me out. But that one of the nurses that was there with Bristol Hospice, she was very reassuring, saying, hey, this is normal. This is definitely a sign that your mom is going. Hold on just a second.
Yeah.
So sorry about that.
No.
It was somebody dropping off a laundry bag for my husband. I'm like, why are you ringing the doorbell so much?
Because they don't want to walk in on you.
Yeah. But anyway, where was I? Oh yeah. My mom had just, yeah. Oh, and I wanted to say that I had heard from somebody else that maybe it was one of the nurses there from hospice saying, sometimes they just need permission to say, it's okay to go. And my mom had been saying, I'm just tired of living. I want to go see Daryl, her husband, who had passed away several years prior. And then I want to go see JC, my brother, who had passed away last year. And so I remember going by her bedside there at the care home. It was on a Tuesday. And I was just telling her, I'm like, Mom, it's okay. You can go see Daryl. You can go see JC. Go see your Heavenly Father. You're going to a much better place. And, it's okay. I love you. I will see you at some point. And just basically giving her permission.
Mm-hmm. And I talk about that a lot, giving them permission. A lot of times I'll tell people to say, I'm going to be okay. What you said was great. It's okay to go see JC, to go see, Dad, to go see, these people. I will see you when it's my time to see you. But I tell people a lot, it's okay to give them permission. It's okay to let them know that you're going to be okay, because one of the things that I see is, parents and grandparents, they don't stop wanting to protect you. So even when she's in this non-responsive state, people think, well, she's not even aware. The hearing is the last thing to go. And I believe that they hear us until they take their last breath, just from things that I've seen them do or react to. So, I mean, there's... I just get kind of emotional when I talk about all of this sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely an emotional topic. And I'm one of those type people. I tend to put my feelings into little boxes and little compartments. And I put it under the bed or under the covers, so to speak. And then I'll deal with it later. Mm-hmm. And I haven't really dealt with it yet, so to speak, but I have noticed things start to pop up. And it'll remind me, I'm like, oh, my mom definitely wouldn't like that, or oh, my mom would really enjoy this, or oh, my mom would be terrible getting around in this town where we're at right now. And, it's like she pops in my memory like much more frequently now. And I'm like, okay, at some point, I'm probably going to really break down and have a good cry.
More than one.
But
More than
yes,
one. More than once.
and
There's
it's like,
no there's no timeline. There's no timeline. There's no wrong or right way to grieve. Kubler-Ross, most people know about the stages of grief. And there are those stages. I don't call them stages because to me, a stage implies you go from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And that is not how grief works. You're going to go back and forth and revisit it a year later. One of my favorite quotes, and I do not know the author, I should learn it, but it says grief is like glitter. You can clean it all up. I mean, it's Halloween and Christmas is coming up, so it's time for glitter decorations everywhere. So you can sweep it up. You can think you have it all gone and clean, and then you go and move a piece of furniture or a picture frame, and there's a little piece of glitter. That's how grief works. You could just be going along your happy day, and then all of a sudden just be just this gut wrenching remembering. Oh yeah, I can't call them. And you're going to do that for a while. You're going to go, oh, I'm going to pick up and call her, or, oh, that's right. As soon as I get back from this, I'm going to go see her. You'll do that for a long time. I still go to call my dad or my mom or my grandma, and they've been gone for quite some time. So, for me, when you're thinking about her more, when these things are popping up, my thought is it's like angel nods. Like she's just saying hi. It's her way of letting you know she's okay and she's with you. And because you even said it, like I find myself thinking of her more, but forgetting that she's not here. You also might come across something that she loved, and every time you see it, it makes you think of her. So you might start seeing that a lot more. For example, when my mom died, she was the one that actually died very suddenly. Her heart just stopped. She was actually younger than I am. She was only 49 when she died. And, I did not handle that very well. I was not even going to be 31. And how do you? And so I did the same thing. I just kind of, put it in a box, and I was getting my bachelor's at the time, and I'm like, I got to finish, it's almost May. Let's just get this going. And, side note, I met my dad for the first time in 31 years after my mom died. Radio station here in Tucson helped us do that. So that was a very surreal year, losing one parent and meeting another. But I went to visit him in Oregon on my mom's birthday, and for the first time, and there was a dragonfly that just kept flying around, kept landing on me, kept hanging around. And I was kind of conflicted with, Mom, this is your birthday. You're not here, but I'm with my dad. And that's when this dragonfly came around. So I just was like, hi, Mom. So now every time I see a dragonfly, even times when I'm not okay, a dragonfly, whether it's a picture, one will fly by my car. The first time I ever took my dad, we ever went on a father-daughter trip together. I took him to Rocky Point. And my friend that lives there was like, oh, we don't have dragonflies here. And I said, oh, yeah, they're right outside. And she saw the dragonflies and thought, okay, dragonflies will just land on me. And they don't typically do that either. So Mom, when she needs me to know she's next to me, she presents herself. And I have had other people tell me the same thing. Oh, hummingbirds. Oh, owls, quail. So there will be something. And it took me a year to do that. So it might come to you right away. It might come to you in a year from now, but she will find a way to let you know. And you'll be amazed at the times when you really are down. She's going to say hi in whatever way that she can.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I thank you for sharing the dragonfly story. I truly believe that people from our past show up in different ways, whether it's in another person, another relationship, an event, something in nature. I do believe that, people show up and show their presence in front of
Mm-hmm.
you. And I believe firmly that, my mom is in a better place right now. I believe she's in heaven. And I'm looking forward to seeing her at some point, when it's my time.
Right.
And nobody knows when their time is, obviously. And so I'm just really at peace now, knowing that I believe that she's happy and healthy, and she looks beautiful, and she can walk around without her walker right now. And
She's got purple in her hair.
she has, yes, and she has all of her teeth, and she can, eat whatever she wants. And she's just, I just know that she's so happy right now, and that makes me really happy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it takes a little while to get there, but when you're able to see how they were and not happy, and know that wherever they are and whatever people, believe, whatever their belief system is, the other thing that I really believe, because it is interesting, and we always kind of laugh at ourselves in hospice when we say, well, that was a surprise when someone died. I mean, but it wasn't too soon when your mom, like, we did that interview, and it wasn't too much longer after that, then the nurse was like, she's not doing well. I know that she was stressed for you with that whole process. She mentioned it one of the first times, like, my daughter's been working on this for a long time and all this stuff. Once she knew that it was done and settled and she was accepted and you didn't have to do all of that anymore, she could relax and let go too.
Yeah, that was so funny. On that note, for those that are listening, I was trying to get my mother approved through Alltex, which is Arizona's long-term care system program, like Medicaid, right? And yeah, it was a long time coming. And like the day that I had the lady from Alltex call to get kind of all the paperwork situated, it was like the day I had to tell her, I'm like, well, my mom actually just passed away. So unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, I no longer have the need for Alltex for her. It was just the timing was just so bizarre.
Yeah, like, thanks for the acceptance, but yeah, and
Yeah.
that's hard, saying it out loud. I think, one of the things I always tell people when their loved one is dying, I remind them that people are going to be there. Those first 3 months after that death, you will not be able to stop people from calling, bringing food, stopping by, bringing flowers, cards. And then after about 3 months, that kind of starts slowing down and people go back to their life and they don't constantly, reach out to you. But to have to say to someone, to have to call and make those calls and say, my mom died, my dad died. I mean, having to say it can be very hard. And people always want to help. They say, can we help? Can we do anything? So I always encourage families, they really do mean it. They can't take this away for you. They can't make this better for you, but they can do this for you. So let them make those calls. Of course, not to your close family. You probably should do that unless there's family members that don't get along, and that happens more than we'd like to think it does. Then you can have someone else call, but you can give permission to let other people take some of those burdens for you, so you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great tip. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you're right. Like, I do get the phone calls. People ask me, like, can I do anything at all for you? And I'm like, you know what? If I think of something, I will let you know. But right now, my brain is just kind of mush. But thank you
Mhm.
for offering.
And grief brain, that does exist. It
Yes.
is a real phenomenon. And so if the first year, it can still go on. You might find yourself driving from your house to a store and pulling in the parking lot and thinking, did I run red lights? Like, I don't, you go into autopilot. Um,
Yeah.
so like you're in a fog, your short-term memory is affected. So anyone going through that and thinking, oh, great, just be kind to yourself. Grief brain is a real thing, and it can really affect you.
Grief brain. I've got grief brain. So let's circle back to the hospice conversation.
Mhm.
So, based on what we've discussed, how hospice is not a place that you go to. So, when would you recommend to a loved one, to a family member, that, maybe it's a good time to have hospice come and just kind of evaluate the
Mhm.
patient? Like, how does that work?
So I think, like you were saying in the very beginning, your mom was tired of going to all these doctor's appointments. This doctor appointment, going to the emergency room, getting poked and prodded when there's an illness. So whether it's end stage dementia, whether it's a lung problem, whether it's cancer, a heart condition, when they're just done going to the doctor, and as the diseases progress, we need more help. Like we're sicker more often. We need to go to the emergency room more often. So when people are starting to listen to their loved ones say, I'm really tired of doing this, that's a good time to have an eval, because sometimes, that's what the eval is for. Sometimes people don't always qualify. So we wait a little bit until they do, and we go back out and do another eval. But having the eval certainly isn't going to hurt anything. And it's okay if you have the thought process, but you're afraid a little bit to talk to your mom or your dad. Trust me, I have quite a few people that bring their family members on hospice, and they don't want us to mention the H word, the hospice word, and that's
Mhm.
okay. I tend to tell people, we know when we don't feel well, so your loved one knows they're not doing well, but we are here to honor everyone's wishes. So, but when someone starts being just tired of all of it, that's a good time to have that eval.
That's great. And I know that there are several people involved within the hospice process.
Mhm.
There's you, Tracy, you're the caseworker, kind of getting everything organized, coordinated, so to speak, right? And then there's the
Kind of.
nurses who, okay,
Yeah.
this is my understanding. And then the nurses who are there to actually, evaluate the patients, give them their meds if needed, their comfort meds, help them bathe. And then there's also the chaplain who comes for, support, spiritual support and care. And one thing that I learned that I think is really cool is that you at Bristol Hospice offer care beyond, just the death, during the care before and, after the death. There's like a year-long period where you offer um,
Bereavement.
bereavement care. And I'm like, that is so cool, because you never know when you might be having like just a really, really, really horrible day, and you need somebody to talk to. So it's nice to know that you have that level of care, somebody to reach out to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, thank you for talking about the different disciplines. The case managers in hospitals are social workers, because they are managing basically like the discharge. Okay, where are they going? How are we going to get them there? So they manage everything. In hospice, the case managers are the nurses. So the nurses in hospice, because in the hospital, there's doctors there. So the doctors rely on the nurses, but not as much in hospice. In hospice, we have 4 doctors. They don't go to the home or the facilities. They rely on the information that we give them, especially the nurses. So in hospice, the case managers are the nurses. So the nurses do coordinate services with the family, the facility, get medications, equipment delivered. They, of course, reach out to the other team members if something's needed. So for social work, it is education, helping get those resources if she was in her own home, helping figure out in-home caregivers or placement, like finding a place like Nadine's, those kind of things, FMLA paperwork, letters to places. There's so many behind the scenes things, helping with all text applications. And then we also have in the hospitals, they're CNAs, certified nursing assistants. We have them HHAs, hospice home aides. So they are the ones that go in, and to me, they're like the backbone. I mean, without our aides that take such tender, loving care to bathe our patients, even if they're swatting at them, if they're not feeling well, in 110-degree homes, they come out soaking wet from the shower, and they're just little angels. I have the utmost respect for my aides. And then we have the chaplain, or spiritual counselor. Sometimes people hear chaplain and they get nervous that it's kind of churchy. It can be as churchy as it needs to be, or it can just be more on the spiritual side. But we try to be very inclusive. I have brought in different information on cultures and religions and backgrounds, because at the end of the day, we are guests in people's homes and facilities. So it's important to me that we honor their customs and their beliefs. And, I'm not there to be anything but a guest and to help them.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much, Tracy. So how does somebody get a hold of you if they have questions about, whether or not hospice is right for them, for one of their loved ones?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to give my personal number, because I don't answer my work phone unless it's work hours. So yeah, I'm happy to give my personal phone. I can do that now.
Okay. Let's hear it.
So it's 520-907-5148. Again, 520-907-5148. And I'm happy to answer any questions about hospice, about advanced directives, about care homes. A lot of people think there's only nursing homes or assisted living, and Nadine, like when your mom was in, is a smaller home. Most people don't even know those exist. So I can answer some questions about that. Dementia, I have great educational tools on that. Any questions on any of those things, I'm happy to answer them. And doesn't even have to be our hospice. I'll answer the questions, and whenever you need it, go with whoever works for you.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And you're right. There's so much out there that, information you can share. There's a lot of information that people just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Like, I didn't know, to your point, I didn't know that there were those types of care homes available. And just having my eyes open, I'm like, oh, wow. Because I had always had the preconceived notion. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't afford a assisted living home for my mother, because it's so expensive. And finding this affordable care home, like an alternative option. And it was very loving. Like Nadine was just, and her daughter and the other caregiver, they're just so loving.
Yes.
I was like, okay, this is perfect. So thank you. I really appreciated our conversation, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your week.
You too have an amazing time on this cruise, and have some sangria for me. And anytime you want to talk, I'm still here. So you let us know what you need.
All right. Thanks, Tracy. Take care.
All right.
God bless.
Thank you. You too.